There's a lot to go over in today's show. We have a lot of different topics. We're going to get into the Iran peace talks that failed. We're also going to get into Trump's reaction to those talks failing. He's going to do a naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. We're also going to get into Eric Swalwell and the scandal that he's in. Now he dropped out of the election. We're going to get into that. I'm going to give my opinions on that. We're also going to get into Trump's tweet that he posted yesterday as Jesus Christ. Many are saying, some are saying that it was the Pope. Gonna give my opinions on that as well. And then we're also gonna talk a little Rory McIlroy, back-to-back green jackets. Where does that put him in the history of golf? But first, let's start with the Iran peace talk deals that failed. JD Vance went over to Pakistan, met with the Iranian delegation, and came back with nothing. A big fat zero. He's saying that it's worse for Iran than it is for the United States. I'll get into my opinions of that, but here are JD's remarks after the talks failed.
The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms. Questions?
Sir, Nick Robertson from CNN. Precisely what have they rejected here? Can you help us understand it a little bit?
Well, I won't go into all the details because I don't want to negotiate in public after we negotiated for 21 hours in private. But the simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations. Again, their nuclear program, such as it is, the enrichment facilities that they had before, they've been destroyed. But the simple question is, do we see a fundamental commitment of will for the Iranians not to develop a nuclear weapon, not just now, not just 2 years from now, but for the long term? We haven't seen that yet. We hope that we will. Jen.
Was there a framework on anything? And also, did the Iranian frozen assets come up, and did you reach any conclusions on those frozen assets?
We talked about all those issues, Jen, and we talked about a number of issues beyond that. And so certainly those things came up. But again, we just could not get to a situation where the Iranians were willing to accept our terms. I think that we were quite flexible. We were quite accommodating. The president told us, you need to come here in good faith and make your best effort to get a deal. We did that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to make any headway. Preston.
Mr. Vice President, how often did you communicate with President Trump throughout the negotiations? There were reports that there were multiple rounds where there were breaks in between negotiations. How often did you communicate with the president throughout those rounds, and what was he saying as you were going through these negotiations that you said fell short?
Yeah, obviously we were talking to the president consistently. I don't know how many times we talked to him, a half dozen times, a dozen times over the past 21 hours. We obviously also talked to Admiral Cooper, to Pete, to Marco, to the entire national security team. We talked to Scott Bessent a number of times. So look, we were constantly in communication with the team because we were negotiating in good faith. And we leave here with a very simple proposal, a method of understanding that is our final and best offer. We'll see if the Iranians accept it.
You can cut the clip. So JD Vance is talking about good faith, and that's all great and dandy, but why should Iran trust anything that the United States has to offer when you have Israel, after they reach a ceasefire, bombing Lebanon, in which the argument is that Lebanon was not in the deal? But if you're really trying to achieve peace, if you're Israel, and I said this on another episode, why would you not wait 24 hours, 48 hours to see how Iran reacts? So how can any of this be trusted? Is Israel acting in good faith, right? That's the question that many have, is what's Israel's, Israel's position in all of this? And what is their long-term vision? Is it to eradicate Iran, or do they truly want to reach a peace deal? So they keep mentioning nuclear weapons, and a lot of reporting that I've seen is that they do have some type of uranium, and that's a problem, right? What's the off-ramp here? Did Trump jump ahead and again, I think that what happened with Trump is that he got a lot of bad advice in this. I think Israel gave him bad advice. Bibi Netanyahu gave him bad advice. I don't know if his inner team gave him bad advice. I know JD Vance was against this war. Many on his team were against the war, but you do have the neocons like the Lindsey Grahams of the world that wanted to take this fight to Iran. But I think Trump was acting and made this decision to back Israel because of the information he had that, hey, they just, with a little bit of a push, we can get this regime out. And that's not the case. Iran seems to be stronger than when this conflict started for some reason. So what's the off-ramp here for the United States? Now Trump, reaction to this is to create a blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. What does that look like for the impact of the world? 90% of India's oil comes from Iran. So is there now a strategic, and India hasn't picked a side yet. They're kind of neutral, but does this bring them as an ally to Iran? And China gets a lot of their oil supply from Iran. So do they start forming a coalition against the United States? And at what point do our UAE partners, Saudi Arabia partners, Kuwait, all that whole region that is allied with the United States where we have bases, at what point do they start turning on the United States because no deal has reached? And it seems like Iran has the leverage in this situation, as crazy as that may sound, because they're acting like they have the leverage. Iran has been preparing for this for 47 years. They knew a day would come where they would be attacked. And I think they were prepared for it. I think more than what people anticipated. And how their government is fractionalized. Who is truly calling the shots? Is it Khomeini's son, the new supreme leader, which hasn't appeared? There's some reports that he's decapitated. I've seen some other reports where Iran's being very strategic and not showing face, because that's what the United States wants, is to see him, to locate him, to eliminate him. So who are they truly dealing with in Iran? They got about 30 different divisions within their government. Who's running the military? Is the IRGC running on their own capacity? There's just a lot of questions here, but I just don't know what the off-ramp here, the off-ramp is here for the Trump administration. What's the next level of escalation? Ground troops? Like, that would be awful. That's never worked. We're not very good at regime change as the United States. You can look at Vietnam, even Iraq. We went into Iraq, ground troops, ISIS formed. Look at what happened, the disaster in Afghanistan when we left. We're not very good at this regime change stuff. And I don't know where we go from here, but this Strait of Hormuz thing it keeps escalating. And here's a clip on the Strait of Hormuz.
Iran promised to open the Strait of Hormuz, and they knowingly failed to do so, the president writes. This caused anxiety, dislocation, and pain to many people and countries throughout the world. They say they put mines in the water, even though all of their Navy and most of their mine droppers have been completely blown up. So there you have it. The meeting went well. Most points were agreed to, but the only point that really mattered, nuclear, was not. Effective immediately, the president states, the United States Navy, the finest in the world, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. At some point, we will reach an all being allowed to go in, all being allowed to go out basis, but Iran has not allowed that to happen by merely saying there may be a mine out there somewhere that nobody knows about but them. This is world extortion, and leaders of countries, especially the United States of America, will never be extorted. I have also instructed our Navy to seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran. No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas. We will also begin destroying the mines the Iranians laid in the straits. Any Iranian who fires at us or at peaceful vessels will be blown to hell. The president writes, Iran knows better than anyone how to end this situation which has already devastated their country. Their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft and radar are useless. Khomeini and most of their leaders are dead, all because of their nuclear ambition. The blockade will begin shortly. Other countries will be involved with this blockade. Iran will not be allowed to profit off this illegal act of extortion. They want money, and more importantly, they want nuclear. Additionally, and at an appropriate moment, we are fully locked and loaded, and our military will finish up the little that is left of Iran. President Donald J. Trump.
Cut the clip. More tough talk by Donald Trump. Is it just talk? Is he going to be able to accomplish what he's saying he's going to be able to accomplish, and he's going to be able to blow up those mines? Who knows? But here, I'm going to give you guys some data on how much oil is being passed through that strait, the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the global oil, which is about 17 to 20 million barrels per day, flow through the Strait of Hormuz. 25 to 30% of the global LNG also moves through that choke point. Full disruption scenario, oil could spike up to $120 to $150 a barrel. And I've seen some reports of $200 a barrel. Think about what kind of impact that will have to our economy, but global economy. And do you set a global recession? Because we're on the brink of a global recession. The United States has a $40 trillion deficit. Does this situation with Iran exacerbate this? Does this turn into a Great Depression situation? There's a lot of unknowns with this, but there's just a lot of things here, moving parts, that this can go off the rails very quickly. Shipping insurance costs have gone up about 300 to 500% overnight. That gets passed over to the consumer. The consumer is going to now have to pay for that. If it's for fertilizer, oil, food, wheat, all that gets passed over to the consumer, so cost of goods are going to go back up. Inflation's going to go back up if this doesn't get corrected quickly. I just don't know what the off-ramp here is for the Trump administration. And China and India, their energy independence in this whole situation. Their imports is about 11 million barrels a day, 50% pass through Hormuz. Iran supplies 1.3 to 1.4 billion barrels a day, 10 to 12% of imports. Often buys Iranian oil at 20 to 30. The Asians buy about 20 to 30% discounted oil from the Iranians. So how does China respond to all this? Those are questions I have, legitimate questions I have. What's the off-ramp here for the Trump administration? The messaging has been all over the place. This will be at max 4 to 6 weeks. We're now going into week 7 of this conflict. And doesn't seem like there's any end in sight. The Iranians don't want to come to the table. Do the Iranians overcome this and potentially turn into a superpower? That's a question. Through their alliances with India, China, Russia, and the Middle East, partners that are currently not partners with them. What's Iran's next move? Do they go after the data centers that are in the UAE, Saudi Arabia? What happens then? Because if you go after those data centers, a lot of our AI operational systems go to shit. So where do we go? What's their next move? Just a lot of unanswered questions. And I don't know what the off-ramp is here. But Iran's not acting like they're weak. Because if they were truly, truly weak, I think they come to the table. But they're not budging. 21 hours in a room with the United States and no deal was reached. Knowing that you got a guy that's, some would say, irrational in Trump, and you don't know how he's going to react. And they're calm, cool, and collective, if you ask me, saying we're not gonna do this deal. And Trump is saying that he wants 95 to 100% of what he's asking for. I mean, if you're coming in good faith, and I've been in plenty of negotiations, sometimes you got to give something to get what you're trying to get to. And Iran's acting like they're the ones with the leverage in the situation. So we'll see what, like I said on the previous show, this is ever changing. It changes every single minute by minute, hour by hour. So we'll see what we're talking about and what happens here. But every day that this goes by, it gets worse and worse for the world. This is not good for the world. And I think the information that the Trump administration and Trump was operating under probably wasn't very good information. Iran is stronger than what they let out to be or what they thought they were, with their capacities. So I don't know where you go from here. I really don't. We'll see what happens, but I don't know. Things are not looking good. Let's just say that. All right. In other news, Eric Swalwell had to drop out of his candidacy for governor of California. It's just interesting. With the amount of things that have come out, I've read many articles and I've seen a lot of videos, or a couple videos that came out, but I've read a lot of different articles. This guy's been a scumbag for many, many years, and none of this came to light until he was running for governor. You don't think the Democrats had this information? But as soon as he was running for governor, they didn't like him. They started releasing all this, and the women started coming forward. It's funny how that always happens. But here's a clip on Eric Swalwell, having a good time in a hotel with a prostitute. It seems like.
Moments ago, Congressman Eric Swalwell announced he is dropping out of
Well, here's the dropping. He's dropping out of the race here. Sorry, wrong clip, but we'll go through this clip.
Quote, I am suspending my campaign for governor. To my family, staff, friends, and supporters, I am deeply sorry for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. I will fight the serious false allegations that have been made, but that's my fight, not a campaign.
This, of course, comes after several women accused Swalwell of sexual misconduct, including one former staffer who says that Swalwell sexually assaulted her twice. Since the news broke late last week, Swalwell has lost multiple endorsements and faced calls from both sides of the aisle to leave the race. A Republican Congress member even filed a motion to have him removed from the House as a result. It is a breaking story. We'll continue to follow it and bring you any new developments here on air, as well as on KPIX.com.
What's funny about Eric Swalwell and the Democrats is if this would have been Trump, and it happened to Trump, right? He got caught with a prostitute with Stormy Daniels, and they tried to throw him in jail over it, right? Over something, in his books, he categorized it as a business expense. And it was to pay Stormy Daniels. They tried to, put him in jail for that. But these scumbags can get away with whatever they want and nothing happens to them. And I'm not saying both sides. Listen, both sides are guilty of this. And this is the problem I have with politicians. They speak with moral authority and they want to impose the way that you live and they act like they are righteous. And then you got things like this and roll the clip. But look at him here with a hooker. This is a guy that's married, by the way, with children. And I never get into people's personal lives. You do what you want in your personal life. That's between you and God. But we have to have a conversation about this. Because you're in public office, man. What are you doing? And some of the text messages he was sending these girls, he was sending girls nudes. Just crazy, crazy things. And these are the guys that are going to run our country, right? And these are the guys that stand on their moral, authority or moral platforms and want to tell you how bad Donald Trump is, but these are the same guys that are doing just as bad or worse than Donald Trump ever did. Right? And don't forget about Eric Swalwell. He was being investigated for sleeping with a Chinese spy. He had an affair with a Chinese spy, and that got swept under the rug. They found no wrongdoing in the oversight committee. Seems like to me he was up to doing a lot of not so good things. And I'm for sure he was with that spy, that Chinese spy. Can you imagine? That's treason, by the way. You're liable to be executed for that. Life in prison for sure. For treason against the United States. And Donald Trump bangs one hooker and they want to throw him in jail and had gone after him every which way possibly politically. But these guys, that's the problem that I have with these guys. They want to tell you how to live your life. They want to tell you, give me 50% of your money, and we can do, we're bigger than you guys. We're bigger than the law. We can live and do it however we want, and there shouldn't be any consequences. And that's the moral of the story with Eric Swalwell. Absolute scumbag, what this guy was doing. Absolute scumbag. And taking advantage of his position of power with these young ladies. Some of these girls were 21, 22 years old, had aspirations of being in the political game, and he sold them a dream to be part of his campaign, that he will move them up through the political, networks that he had. That's how he was doing it. Just a shame. It's a shame that this guy has been doing it for so many years. Now he decides to run for governor of California, and now it comes out, right? And like him, how many more on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, are running around like this guy, thinking that they're bigger than everyone else. So he got what he was coming to him. He's saying some of these things are false allegations, blah, blah. We'll let it play out, but he's a scumbag. There's no denying that. The video with right there with another dude. He was probably going to gangbang her. Right? Just sad. All right, so Trump versus the Pope. There's a lot of chatter right now on X about this. Why would Trump do something like this? Some are supporting it. Some are giving some biblical explanations, which is crazy to me. How do I feel about it? After we roll this clip, I'll give you my position on it.
Crime, I guess. He hit us. Think of it. He's worried about fear. What about the fear when the ministers and the priests and all of those great people that were arrested during COVID, and in many cases they're outside 10 feet apart, and they were arrested? We don't like a pope that's going to say that it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime. He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapon so they can blow up the world. I'm not a fan of Pope Leo.
You cut the clip. It's just so petty. He didn't say that he wants an Iran. Pope Leo did not say that he wants Iran to have nuclear weapons. It's just such a petty fight for Donald Trump to get into. We got so many different issues in the world, especially what's going on in Iran, and you're paying attention to what the Pope has to say. And that's not what the Pope said. He just criticized. He doesn't want to see war. From a biblical standpoint, he doesn't want to see wars. But this is what Trump does, right? This is what he, when you voted for Trump, and I voted for him the second time around, this is what you get. This is what you get. This is the bad with Donald Trump. You get some good, and you get some bad, and sometimes the bad is like, oh God, I can't believe he did that. And then he sends out a tweet late last night, depicting him as Jesus. Some people are saying the Pope. Some people are saying, is that Jeffrey Epstein on the bottom of his hand? Head scratcher. Don't know why he would put this out. Right? He's not Jesus. He's not our savior. I wish he would take it down. If you ask me, as a Christian, it's just not a fight that he should be picking right now. Why are we doing this? And then why are you trying to create religious divide with this? Some Christians are going to have a heart attack with this. Some Christians are defending it. I don't even know how you defend it. Is this blasphemy, as they say? I don't know, man. Just sometimes the shit that Trump does is just very head scratching, and this is what you signed up for. Not a fan of it. I hope he takes it down. As a Christian, it's not right. Even if it's depicting the Pope, why are we doing that? He did it previously a couple months back. He did one of the Pope again, him as the Pope. Like, why are you doing that, man? Like, have some respect. Have some respect for the Christian religion. And listen, that doesn't take away. Trump has done more for Christians than many presidents. even the Nigerians that are getting killed, Christians in Nigeria that are getting killed. Trump did something about it, right? He sent a couple missiles their way, right? Nobody had done anything. But it's just not a fight that he should be picking and getting into this pettiness. Like, I get he wants to hit back everybody because everybody's against him, but this one is just let's just sit it out. Well, who cares what Pope Leo has to say? From his perspective, I want to listen when the Pope speaks, and I'm not Catholic, I'm Christian, but I think he's coming from a place of wanting to see peace in the situation. And has the Catholic Church gone a lot very political? They have. There's no denying that. You can see from comments over several years and positions that they've taken, they've gotten political. But just from a perspective of being the president of the United States, I just think that there's no place for this in our politics. There's no place for this in our world. Like, why are you picking this fight? Like, it makes no sense to me why you would do this. Who egged you on to do this? Like, just tasteless. But not surprised. This is what Donald Trump does. This is exactly who Donald Trump is, and I'm not surprised. Just I hope he takes it down. So that's all I got up there. Let's talk about Rory McIlroy. Back-to-back green jackets. Incredible. He blew the lead on Saturday, came back Sunday, pulled it off. Where does this leave Rory McIlroy? We're going to roll the clip of him winning here. But just an incredible job just getting this done.
This year again. Rory is a rare repeat winner at Augusta.
Just what a thrill, man. One of the coolest things in sports is that last day on 18.
His year again.
And when you pull it off, I mean, you remember all those Tiger moments.
Is a rare repeat winner at Augusta.
It's incredible. And now Roy, first guy since Tiger to win back-to-back. What do you think he's feeling there right now? Just an incredible moment. But yeah, you can cut the clip. Where does this put him? I think there's a conversation of him being in the top 3 for sure, all time. And I go back to thinking about Tiger and what Tiger has been able to accomplish, and Tiger is probably the best golfer ever, if you talk to many, but his legacy's ruined now with everything that's gone on with him personally. He still has 14 majors. Rory won't catch him, I don't think. So, but McIlroy, I always have a hard time with Rory McIlroy. Always have a hard time pronouncing his name, but McIlroy is definitely in the conversation. He's heading towards being top 3 ever. And just an incredible, his career stumbled a little bit. He fell off a little bit, and he's resurged again. So just happy for him. Let's see if he can pull back next Masters. But we'll see. That's the conclusion of the show today. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment. Give me feedback. I'd love to know what you guys think. Thank you for supporting. And make sure to hit that subscribe button. About 80% of you that are tuning in are not hitting that subscribe button. So hit that subscribe button for me so I can continue to grow the show. I can continue to go get the big time guests that you guys want to hear from. So I would truly appreciate it if you guys hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Catch you guys on the next one.